And then Mike Alden was great because he filled in a lot of blanks on the hiring process, because Gary only remembers things from his side of things. Mike told things from the Missouri angle of things. It got, you know, he was they were, I remember, you know, they were talking to about 4 or 5 people, I think. Mark Richt was one of them, who ended up being Georgia's coach for a long time. A few others, candidate coach. It's kind of funny, coaches that haven't really necessarily gone on to great things, but at the time they were sort of hot candidates.
Was Bill Self in the mix on this one?
No, not on this one. No, that was a few years earlier. He certainly was. So when they really narrowed it down to, and really liked Gary a lot, I know that they interviewed in Chicago, I think, and then Mike and a couple of people from his staff, they holed up in a Chicago, I want to say it was a restaurant, maybe a restaurant in a hotel, and they were trying to hammer out this deal, and the terms, they were just not on the same page from what I remember. And you know, Gary was getting really frustrated with the process, like really frustrated. Like it wasn't that, like I'd love to have this job, but these aren't the terms I want. And essentially gave them an ultimatum saying, if you don't have an answer for me by this time of day, I'm out, I'm done. And Gary recalled that very much the same way. So it got a little maybe contentious, and maybe it's not even that unique for a negotiation, but Alden at the time was like, okay, this guy means business. He's a serious coach. He's somebody who's intense, and he liked that about him. Maybe not like, you know, that how that part of the process was going on, but then they did figure it out. And I think Gary may have, his memory told him that he actually pulled out at one point because he didn't like where it was headed. But then it all worked out. And yeah, it wasn't like I covered it live at the time, and I was a year out of college, and I don't really remember a lot of great details at the time, because his name didn't really resonate that strong in the state of Missouri, because he was a Mid-American Conference guy, and then he was really well known on the West Coast because he was in Washington for a long time, but not so much in the Central Time Zone. So it did kind of go under the radar, I think, nationally at the time, but obviously paid off great for both parties.